Hello my friends, it's Friday. Welcome back. As I promised last time, we will continue with the Russian drones flying into Poland segment. I will tell you everything that has happened ever since Wednesday to Friday. We've gotten a lot of new information and some of what I expected came into truth. For example, now it is confirmed that 19 drones in total flew into Poland, and in total Polish Air Force destroyed 4 of them. What else was confirmed, which is a very strange piece of information, is that the Belarusians actually warned the Polish that these drones are flying into Polish airspace, which gives us an idea that maybe Russians wanted Poland to know, so Russians can measure how fast is the Air Force, how fast is the reaction, how strong it is, how many are they able to shoot down, what time it takes. They wanted Polish to know. And Polish knew. The Air Force scrambled. We'll also go through all of the videos and photos that have any kind of connection to this. For example, this is a video from the Polish Lublin area, seeing clearly of one of the drones that were shot down, falling from the sky. Altogether, only 4 were shot down, the rest of them fell on their own. Just to make sure the information comes from the right place, Polish Prime Minister himself said that 4 out of 19 drones were shot down. Now, this is not the greatest of statistics, especially considering that F-16s and F-35s flew up. 4 countries' air forces scrambled because of this attack, and only 4 were shot down. I would have loved to see bigger, all of them shot down, honestly, and located from the minute they entered NATO airspace, but that wasn't the case. Even by this day, by now, by the time I'm making this video, again, by the time you are watching it, it might be different, you have more information, but now only 12 drones have been located. So even now, not all of the 19 have been located. So 7 drones are still missing somewhere on the Polish soil, or some flew back to Ukraine. We don't know. I think we should know by now. It's 2 days later. By the way, 2 of these drones were found several dozen kilometers from country's capital, Warsaw. So they flew all the way to the capital and fell down in a field somewhere there. They were not shot down there. Here on this map, you can see all of the locations where the drones have been found right now. And note that one of them is very close to Gdansk, a port city on the Baltic Sea. It almost flew back to Russia, back to Kaliningrad. Came from Russia or Belarus or Ukraine and flew back to Russia. It is very strange. It was found so far away from the border. It's almost 500 kilometers from the border, actually. The rest of them were found near the border areas, and 2 of them were found near Warsaw. Here is the same map, only with pictures of these specific drones. As you can see, not all of them are Shahed drones. There were also Gerbera recon drones. Also, what I have to note is all of the Shaheds did not have explosives. They were decoys. So it means they had more fuel. The explosives area was filled with fuel. As I mentioned, I personally have an issue of NATO Air Force being able to shoot down 4 drones out of 19 with F-16s and F-35s. I would have loved to see 19 out of 19, but even with these 4, there's another issue. It is money. It's all about money. Dutch F-35s reportedly shot down Russian Geran Shahed drones over Poland using AIM-9X missiles. Cost of a drone here is listed 10,000. Well, I gotta fix that. Shahed drones cost a lot more, actually. They cost 50 to 100,000 per piece. Cost of an AIM-9X missile, 2.8 million. Well, they can be a lot cheaper. They can be 1 to 1.5 million, depending on the product, depending on where it was made, when it was made. But still, even if it is 1 million, the drone itself is 10 times to many more times cheaper than the missile. And looking at the numbers that Russia is sending to Ukraine, the Shaheds, hundreds every night, shooting them down with F-35s with these AIM-9X missiles, this would be a victory for the Russians, just because they would use up all of Western anti-air defense missiles, air-to-air defense missiles very fast. This is not the answer. the answer would be what Ukraine is doing, using every other mean necessary except for these AIM-9X missiles. For example, Browning machine gun, which has automated aiming systems attached to it that find the drones, shoot them down. The cost of one drone destroyed could be as low as $500, $1,000, which is the Browning ammunition costs. Very cheap. By now, Polish analysts have already made sure where at least 6 of the drones were launched from. From Russia, of course, but which airfield. Shatalovo airfield, right here you can see it on the map, is the location where at least 6 of these drones that entered Polish airspace were launched, and they identified the launchers also. This is the airfield strip right here. There are 3 different launch sites, and the photo is not really good, but it's a very primitive thing to launch Shaheds. Even if you did destroy these launch sites, it's so easy to make these launch vehicles, launch platforms, but it's very primitive, so there's no point in destroying them. But we know where they are now. This attack really shook the Polish military, and they are taking it very seriously. I bring you the video of 3 Black Hawks flying over Warsaw, the capital of Poland. We now know that this was a training flight, but they are doing that now very often, many times a day. They are rehearsing Black Hawks flying out of the capital to the border areas or to hunt showheads, because we also see in Ukraine that Ukrainians are shooting down showheads with Mi-8s, just with machine guns. I remind you, showheads without jet engines are slow and loud. There are also showheads with jet engines, and them you cannot shoot down with choppers. But majority of these drones can be shot down with helicopters and a machine gun if you're precise enough. Last time I said that Poland could invoke Article 4 of NATO. Now we have it confirmed they did. And actually it was so strange. About 20 minutes after I recorded the video last time, Donald Tusk came out with a report that they invoked Article 4. So I just didn't have the information yet. But what is NATO Article 4? Everybody is stoked about Article 5. Attack on all. Attack on one is an attack on all. But Article 4, my friends, directs the North Atlantic Council to begin immediate defense and military consultations for emergencies or situations of urgency when territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened. So it's basically all of the countries meet, talk, and figure out what to do very fast. That's Article 4. And they're doing that now. But now I gotta remind you of a Turkish pensioner. This is a very funny way to put it, but that was true. I mean, Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, whatever you want to call it, president, dictator, I'll leave that up to you. In 2015, Russian Su-24 breached Turkish airspace. That's what the Russian Air Force does. They just fly wherever they want. Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Turkey, they don't care. The difference here is that Erdogan immediately gave the order to shoot it down from the first minute, from the get-go. Shoot it down. Ever since then, Russians have not breached Turkish airspace again. The pilot died, by the way. Erdogan was like, Russia, a nuclear power, flying into my airspace. We're going to shoot it down. We're going to take the responsibility. Punch them in the face. And now Russians respect Turkish airspace. How many times Estonian airspace is breached? Polish airspace? Well, I can say on the matter of Estonia, at least once a month. Maybe more. That's over 10 times a year at least. Polish Prime Minister announced at a press conference that Poland will cooperate closely with Ukraine on counter-drone systems. We will draw on the best practices, and the Ukrainian drones are battlefield proven, he added. Now, this is a strange situation. The Ukrainians are really good at shooting down Russian drones cheaply. That's the main thing. Western missiles, AIM-9X missiles, they're really good, really precise, but they're so expensive. Ukrainians can do it cheap. But Poland has not adapted yet. I mean, my country, Estonia, has not adapted. We have not bought similar systems that Ukraine has. When Russian drones would attack Estonia right now, F-35s in Estonia would rise up to shoot them down with very expensive missiles. That's not the answer. With this, Russia can just use up all our missiles very fast. Ukraine proposed an idea almost a year ago that Ukraine and Poland should do a joint air defense training and joint forces to shoot down Russian drones. Poland said no. Well, now is the time to say yes, because Poland needs these cheap systems that are effective. They cannot continue using these expensive missiles that are good for Russian jets, for example, Russian bombers, but definitely not the drones. Too expensive. Continuing on the Polish topic, I gotta go a little bit to Belarus because Zapad 2025 began. This is the biggest military exercise in Russia and Belarus in the western military districts. And Zapad means the West in Russian, and they usually practice or rehearse taking the Suwalki Gap. That's what they do every year in Russia and Belarus during Zapad. It began today, September 12th. It goes on for the next 4 days, and before it, Poland closed all borders with Belarus and Russia. I'm talking Thursday midnight, yesterday. And how they closed it, they announced it a few days before and they just closed it at midnight. Whoever didn't get past 1 minute later, they don't get past. Now, of course, Russians and Belarusians immediately reacted. Russia threatens Poland again. This time the consequences are announced for the closed border with Belarus. The Russian Foreign Ministry is demanding that the border crossings be reopened urgently. Press spokeswoman Sakharova explains that such measures Poland is justifying further escalation of tension in Central Europe. Poland did not only close the border, they deployed additional 40,000 troops to the border areas. Here, let's watch a video of the Polish border guards closing the border, and that's what it was. Midnight on the clock, on the second, they pulled out the razor wire, just like that. And not the bus here, not the bus waiting on the Belarusian side. I mean, there's filled with people who want to get to Poland, right? Because Poland is European Union and NATO is a very good country. Well, no, they're not going to be able to do that. Now it's an iron curtain. It's back. Yesterday, midnight, the iron curtain was re-established. I mean, it is made of iron, literally, if you can see it. And they're putting these plates also, fully closing it. And here is another shot of this same border closing. And this bus here, these people, they're not going to get to Poland. They don't know for how long. I mean, it should be only 4 days or a month, but it could be years. These things can go out of control real fast. If there's any threat to Poland from Belarus, they are not going to reopen that border. And people are calling, it's like, we cannot get to Poland anymore. There's no way to get to Poland at all. In this video, my friends, you can see Polish armed forces deploying these 40,000 additional troops to the border areas. This includes entire tank battalions. And of course, tanks cannot drive on the paved road. I mean, they can, but they destroy these roads. And in the peacetime, you don't really want to destroy your roads just for one go. So it's so much better and fuel efficient and quiet and better for the roads and civilians to transport tanks on trucks, which is strange because tanks can drive. But again, the fuel efficiency and the roads, you know about it. This is the way to do it in peacetime. To end this Russian attack of drones into Poland, to end this segment in today's video, I'll read you 5 different goals that Russia wanted to achieve with this attack. Number 1. Testing technical parameters of Polish and NATO air defense. Number 2, testing political response, first of all from the US, but also NATO. Number 3, fueling Polish-Ukrainian tensions through bot farms. For example, the narratives like Ukraine let the drones come versus Poles are incapable. Russians are feeding all kind of different narratives that are blaming Ukraine or diminishing Polish capabilities online right now. Number 4, fueling we need arms for ourselves, not for Ukraine voices. And number 5, demoralizing Polish and NATO armies, political elites, population by humiliating NATO. These are the goals that I mean, I'm sure you have more of these goals. You can put them in the comments, but these are 5 very obvious goals of this attack, and I think some of them Russia achieved. My friends, for today's Buy Me a Coffee section of the video, I don't have any new members. That means nobody joined up. If you want to change that, then Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. But I decided to read you the spiciest, saltiest comment on the last video. Maybe I'll do that in every video now. Read you the best and saltiest comment from the previous one. And this is it. Please, Ukraine, name your next long-range missile security guarantees so Putin can get exactly what he's asking for. You know how Russians are always asking for these security guarantees that NATO would not expand to the east and such. Well, if Ukraine names the missile security guarantees and sends it to Russia, Russia has security guarantees. I think this is a very good comment. Scott3292, thank you for it. The next section we discover now is Russian economy, which also includes the oil refinery bingo. And I'll begin it immediately with the overview of August and September. In August 2025 alone, the following oil refineries were attacked. I'm not going to read you all of them. You can see them, but it's a massive list. And more were attacked in September. The situation in the Russian economy, especially connected to gasoline and diesel in the gas stations, is really critical. To save this situation, the Kremlin is urgently seeking opportunities to purchase fuel from Belarus. I mean, Belarus has only 2 oil refineries. Russia has like a lot. So they are buying from Belarus. I mean, they are usually exporting into Belarus. Extending restrictions on gasoline exports. Introducing gasoline coupons, which is just pure Soviet Union vibes. Revisiting its oil export plan to at least somehow sell the crude freed up after key refineries were brought out of operation. Using all available public platforms to get so-called energy truce from Kyiv. This means some NATO or European Union countries who are pro-Russian to force them to stop Ukraine striking Russian oil refineries. But let's go to the specific strikes, because yesterday, Thursday, when the Polish closed the border, well, the Ukrainians struck another oil depot. Last night, Ukrainian kamikaze drones attacked Russia's largest oil terminal, Primorsky, located in the Leningrad region. According to preliminary information, one of the vessels is burning at the Primorsky oil terminal located on the Baltic Sea, St. Petersburg region. Let's watch the video also. Okay.
Блять, только хотел снять видео. Где это пиздец происходит?
I love the commentary of this Russian dude. It's very, very juicy, but the sounds are also very beautiful. Yes, these are the most efficient sanctions Russia has seen. So, 28 flights are delayed because St. Petersburg is in the area of the attack, 13 more cancelled, and 11 more rerouted to Pulkovo airport, and over 220 drones attacked Russian regions last night. I mean, this was only one region. They were all over the place, these attacks. And after this attack, now it is confirmed that an oil tanker is burning on the Baltic Sea. I mean, this is really bad for the fish, I know. But honestly, my survival also depends on these attacks, so I say, do it again. This oil tanker is burning near St. Petersburg right here. I mean, Estonia is only 200 clicks to the west from this location. Kingisepp here is a Russian settlement, but it's an Estonian name. King means a shoe and Sepp is a blacksmith in Estonian, because Kingisepp was a renowned communist in the last century, so they named their city like that. My friends, I want to show you a detailed analysis of Russian fossil fuel exports. This page right here, energyandcleanair.org, gives us very clear statistics of Russian fossil fuel exports. 2022, you can see it with the colors. The biggest increase in price and revenues they got was from gas, from pipelines, and they exported it to the European Union. Well, you can see a very steady decline of their export revenues. This was 1 billion per day in 2022 they made. And now they're making about 500 million per day of fossil fuel exports. So it's a 50% decrease in their revenues, which is a massive drop. In August, Russia's monthly fossil fuel export revenue saw a 2% month-to-month decline to 564 million euros per day. A third consecutive month in which Russian fossil fuel exports revenues have dropped. Seaborne crude oil revenues saw a sharp 12% month-to-month decrease to 170 million euros per day. And who is buying Russian fossil fuels? Well, now in August 2025, it's of course China. The majority of all of the sales go to China, then India, then Turkey, and the EU. You can see they are phasing out, and by 2027 there's going to be zero. That's the deadline. Nothing here. We were number one 2 years ago. Now we're phasing out. I'm glad to see that. What about gasoline exports? I know gasoline is a refined fuel product. Oil refineries which make gasoline have been blown up. Well, Russia's gasoline exports from seaport collapsed to zero in August after Moscow's full export ban. Just 1.28 million tons shipped in January to August versus 4.3 million a year earlier, a 70% drop from August. Usual buyers like Libya and Brazil are cut off, while Russia faces fuel shortages from Siberia to occupied Crimea. And talking about the fuel shortages, I just want to show you the map to visualize which specific Russian oblasts are having critical fuel shortage, gasoline and diesel shortages in the gas stations. Far East Oblast, as you can see, the red indicates a bigger shortage. And also in the West, in the central Russia, they don't have that issue because there are refineries here that have not been struck. Also, the western areas are very densely populated, so the need for the gasoline is a lot higher. And where does this show? Well, of course, in these massive lines. Every video I show you a new video from Russia, from a massive line to a gas station. This one again has a 100 plus cars in it, I think. Look at it stretch. Look at that little kitty cat here. I wonder, I mean, some of these people keep their car running. If you keep your car running while standing in a line for gas, I mean, it's very futile. You get the gas and it seems stupid. It's still going. And here's the gas station. I think the last guys in the line, by the time they reach it, they have been waiting for like 12 hours. There's no gasoline anymore. So you wait 12 hours and you get nothing. Imagine how frustrating that is. This ends the Russian economy section of the video, and now we have the final section, which is the front lines. Let's go through three of the hottest areas of the front. We begin with the Sumy direction. In the Sumy direction, the armed forces of Ukraine continue their counter-offensive actions in the area of Oleksiivka and have advanced again, liberating another piece of Ukrainian land. Oleksiivka, this settlement right here, but I want to show the bigger picture. Don't mind all of the icons on the screen, it gets easier very fast. Zoomed into northern Ukraine, Sumy Oblast, Oleksiivka, this settlement right here. And this small forest strip southeast of Oleksiivka is where the Ukrainians advanced. And immediately you can see Russian airstrikes, 4 of them in a row, to clear out this forest strip because Ukrainians just liberated it. And if they continue to do so, they can get very close to the urbanized. I mean, the Oleksiivka is a row village, meaning the streets have one row of houses and that's it. But if they continue into one of these houses, that's how it is, they liberate the village. And it all comes down to reaching the top of this wind stop. How do you call these forest strips? And from here, across the field at night to connect into these housing areas. And I love this map because it shows you immediately where the Russian airstrikes happen. As soon as Ukrainians liberate some new positions, you can immediately see airstrike, 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 airstrike. They're just bombarding the hell out of it. Now we go to the Kharkiv direction. So from Sumy a little bit to the east, but still northern Ukraine. The Russians continue to launch infantry attacks all along almost the entire Ukrainian defensive line, left bank of the Volcha. Volcha River goes, it's a very small river, so it's hard to see, but it almost follows the front line right here. Let me show it to you on the bigger scale so you can understand where we are exactly. That's Sumy right here. We go a bit south and east and we get to the Kharkiv Oblast, and then we get to Vovchansk. And there's a river going through here. It's not a wide river. If I zoom in a lot, you can see it. I mean, you can swim across it, no problem, if there was no war going on. But again, yeah, it almost follows the front line here, and this urbanized area, I mean, looking at this map, and the river is named Volcha, it's almost like Stalingrad in Volga River, where the Russians were pushing across, just meet and meet and meet the Germans. Well, the thing is, Ukrainians are now controlling this part across the Volcha River, and Russians are pushing in. Russian war crimes, I'm not going to click on it because I cannot show it, but you can go on the map if you want to. The Russians here not using airstrikes, but shelling. They are shelling the immediate rear of the front line. You can see it. Well, in Vovchansk, Ukrainians are pushing more reinforcements across this river to keep their urbanized area, urbanized position to, in the future, liberate Vovchansk. If they give that away, then they're across the river and it's really hard to connect to the other side again. But now, my friends, we go to everybody's favorite. Pokrovsk direction, Dobryapilia breakthrough, Dobryapilia bunny years. You can see the map right here, and I'm going to open it up to you immediately, but supposedly another small group of Russians are completely cut off from their main army. Ukrainians do not control these areas behind them directly, but they have fire control over it, meaning it's a gray zone. The defense forces have regained several positions east of Vladimivka. Russian occupiers have been completely driven out of Mayak and Bankivka. We'll look at these settlements in a moment. As a result, the remaining Russian units in the remnants of the Dobryapilia salient have been cut off. Not surrounded, but cut off. There's a difference. From the side of Nikanarivka, Ukrainian forces are pressing against the encircled Russian units. Now, there's another encircled Russian units north. We'll look at the map later, but here you can see Mayak, this settlement. The Ukrainians are not in Mayak. They push the Russians out with their fire control, with the drones, shelling, whatever they used, but they did not send infantry there because it's probably a suicide mission. They have fire control over this Novoderetske and Mayak in between this area. Ukrainians have fire control, meaning Russians can retreat through here, but they will be picked out and very few will make it. So here it is reported around 100 Russian soldiers are trapped. And in this map you can see it even more. This is supposedly the third encirclement of the Russian troops in the Dobryapilia section. There's two more to the north of it. And Ukraine does not clear out these encirclements with infantry. No, they will let the Russians starve. That's how it is. Ukrainians are all about saving as much of their infantry as possible, especially because this is Azov's first corps, elite infantry. You don't want to waste it in battles if you don't have to. If the Russians are encircled anyway, they will starve, they will make desperate breakouts, and then they will be knocked out cold. So who is exactly attacking in this area? Who was the army, the Russian army, who made this Dobryapilia breakthrough and now is encircled? Well, we're talking about the 51st Russian army, which used to be the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic's militia. So one of the lowest ranks in the Russian army hierarchy is the People's Republic's militias. They are meat. That's how they are. And I bring you now a Ukrainian military observer, Mashovitz. He is very puzzled about the continuing orders to attack in this area, although the situation on the ground is changed so much. There's nothing to attack, there's nothing to break through. Ukrainians have an entire corps of elite infantry against you, and still they attack with the militias. The command of the Russian 51st Combined Arms Army, formerly 1st Army Corps of the People's Militia, the DPR, is behaving very strangely. For example, I wouldn't be surprised if the offensive of this army soon turns into a rout, and it has, because there's 3 different surroundments now. It continues to desperately try to break through on previously defined sections without taking into account any recent changes in the operational tactical situation in its own zone of advance. The changes he's talking about here is that Azov's first corps has made 3 encirclements of the Russians and pushed the entire breakthrough back. But the 51st Army doesn't take it into account and just charges and charges like there's no change. We're gonna break through very soon, and they do it every day. Who are the soldiers in the 51st Army? This specific group was captured, and they are militias, you know, they meet the lowest of the low. They are almost in the penal battalions, meaning if they do drugs or alcohol, they will be pushed into this army to be used as meat. This guy is wearing a dress, yes, a woman's dress, because he said he spoiled himself, or how do you say it nicely? Well, he couldn't hold it in, I don't know, and he had to change, and there was nothing, so he found a dress, put on the dress. The guy next to him is wearing a tuxedo or a suit. I mean, these guys were captured on the front. They're POWs, the part of the Russian army, 51st. And the guy is wearing a dress, next one is wearing a suit. This guy looks like I don't know, a scientist or something. It's very strange. These are the troops who are day in and day out striking, and these are the troops who are starving in these encirclements. And if they wish to, they can become POWs. If they don't wish to, they will become fertilizer. That's how it is. The biggest Russian military Telegram channel, Rebar, reports that Ukrainians are very effectively dismantling Russian radar system in Crimea. This is a map came from the Russians, came from Rebar, of Ukrainian strikes in Crimea. And you can see it. It's RLS, radar, a ship, airport, Vyshka, Pokrovsk. Well, all of these locations, mostly on the coast, have been destroyed. The radars have been destroyed. Some of them are from the Soviet times, and the Russians will definitely not repair them. Ukrainians are making Crimea into a kill zone because Russians cannot afford not to send new air force units, air defense units there. They will, and Ukrainians just keep hammering at them. It's a very expensive for the Russian air force, air defense units, to defend Crimea. Because it's just every time you bring something here, 2 weeks, it's gone. And they have to bring again and again. For example, this just happened. Now, September 10th, 2 days ago, Ukrainian drone is closing in on a Russian salvage vessel. It's a rescue vessel, as you call it. But there's a twist. Russians have been turning these into recon ships. They supposedly are rescue, meaning not militarized vessels. They're rescue, you know, they're painted all red so everybody can see them. But Russians are installing reconnaissance units, reconnaissance tech on top of it with radars and everything. So it's, yeah, Ukrainians destroy the radars. They don't destroy the ship, but the most important part of it, boom. The communication and legit radar systems. You can see them here. All of this destroyed, and supposedly the captain has been injured. Now, this ship was MPSV-07. I just want to show you the ship itself. This is what it looks like. It's painted red. I mean, it's full civilian, right? But the Russians are now turning them into recon ships, which is actually a war crime. Russians are repurposing them into recon ships, disguising their role as a rescuer. Their advanced diving and sonar systems indicate that sabotage or underwater objects may be another of their missions. So yeah, Ukrainians are doing us all a great favor of taking these out. And I will end today's video and the Frontlines section with a video from Kherson. You all know, and I haven't reported on this because I cannot, but there's human suffering going on in Kherson where Russian drone pilots are hunting civilians. That's what they do. Just hunt as many of them as possible. Well, here the soldiers notice a Ukrainian babushka walking into Kherson. And this is what the Russians do. They see all the elderly people walking like that, they will hunt them, try to eliminate them as fast as possible. These soldiers will stop and immediately ask the babushka to join the car. And they're in a hurry because Russian drones are always in the air in Kherson areas. And now they can deliver the elderly where necessary. I'm glad to see this. And I wanted to end the video with a light note, so there you go. Thank you for watching, my friends. Thank you for coming back. I will be back for you on Monday, because Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, three times a week, I will upload for you. We will go over what's the new information about Poland. We'll go over the front lines. We'll go over the Russian economy, as we do in every video. This is what you can expect. Subscribe to the channel, my friends. And as always, Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.